with that, let's go to a man who's giving subtle messaging via his eyes to cameras.
Yeah.
It tells, if you will.
Last night, Shump said that KD to the Spurs would be great. Keep an eye on the man on the left side of the screen's face, please.
I think he would only want to be playing for a championship, and that makes the most sense in Minnesota, right? But if we're talking about a basketball point, I think that him being in San Antonio and just having that coaching, having that organization behind him.
What's that?
You talk about keeping a guy healthy. You talk about making sure a guy doesn't play too many games, know the ups and downs at the end of the career. I think they just...
Well, that's from Spurs Interact, by the way. Shout out for finding that, seeing that, posting that, and then also tweeting us that you need answers. Let's get them. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who's making sexy eyes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Look like it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Charania.
Yeah.
Shams! Let's get right to it. What are you doing?
So what had happened was, first of all, shout out Starlink. I just want to say that right off the top. We have to give a lot of credit. I think that should be in every plane, everywhere. We need that on every single jet in the nation.
Yeah,
so,
I agree. I agree. If you're allowed to, though, me and Shams were FaceTiming earlier today before he was about to tell a great story, rudely interrupted.
Sure.
Guess you're not allowed to be on a phone call in the middle of flight. Starlink, though, great connection up
Great
there.
connection.
Nobody talks about it. Starlink.
You can do everything. You can do everything on Starlink.
Well,
you can. I might be giving up too much. They're gonna ban all this once I'm out of here.
No,
you can stream. You can do everything.
I was on a plane that had Starlink Wi-Fi. I think I talked about it immediately upon coming on the show. It was like every plane needs that. Every plane. It is unbelievable. You're talking about streaming like it's like you're just. It feels like you got 500 up, 500 down up there because I think you're closer. I don't want to do too much, but it feels like you are pretty close. You're cleaner, and it's. I think they're.
It might be better than Wi-Fi. It might be better than Wi-Fi. I might have to make that claim.
It's 1,000 times better on a plane. I don't know about on Earth down here. I'm talking about in a plane. It might be 10,000x better than the other models.
Okay.
No questions asked. Clearest FaceTimes I've ever had on Earth, in the sky, on a boat. I was on a plane with a Starlink thing. 8K, me and this person.
Shit,
Other side of the world.
They stunk when I had it in my house.
I think they're planes. I don't know about Earth.
Yeah, planes. Yeah,
We're talking about planes.
I'm sure Elon's.
Anyways, let's get to it. Your sexy eyes last night about the Spurs.
I don't know if we can go back and do a replay, while we're talking, but I want to break it down. So, by the way, I love the body language expert police. I'm sure this has happened to you before, Pat. I'm just getting all these tweets. Oh, he's saying he's going to be a Spur. So here's what's going on. This is my first time on the Hoop Stream ESPN show pregame. It was a great time with Brian Windhorst, Iman Shumpert, Vanessa Richardson. And I'm just gathering my surroundings. But, Shump, he's making some great points about the Spurs and Kevin Durant. And so, obviously, my antennas go up. But I'm a reporter. I'm an insider. And I'm an insider. My job is to know. And so, what I start thinking about is this possible? I'm not even listening to the great points he's making and why it makes sense for Kevin Durant to go to San Antonio. Oh my God! Look, I love how you guys paused on that.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the right spot because you do look directly. He's looking right at the camera. He's looking right at the camera.
So yeah. I mean, I am. I mean, part of it is definitely I'm gathering my surroundings. It's my first time on this show. I gotta figure out: are they doing one shots? Are they keeping it on us? What's going on?
Oh, you're trying to find your camera. Okay, Sean.
Sure.
Sean's producing
so
out
when
there.
I butt right back in, I know which camera to look at. But they were doing wide shots the whole time,
TV,
which is fine.
Yeah, TV.
But I'm not going to lie. While this was going on, while Shump is making these points, I just think about, as an insider, is this possible? And I'm just okay, from all the conversations I'm having right now, all the information I have, is that Miami, Houston, and Minnesota is where the focus of the Suns conversations are for Kevin Durant. And from my understanding, right now the Spurs have not been the aggressive team for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has a list of 3 preferred destinations. It's the Spurs, it's the Rockets, and it's the Heat. But out of those 3, the Spurs have had a level of interest. I mean, it's Kevin Durant. Who wouldn't? But their timeline compared to the assets and potentially what it would take to go get Kevin Durant, they're just not on that time that Miami may be on, or Houston may be on. Houston being a team that made it to the first round of the playoffs this year, has a veteran coach in Ime Udoka, great coach in Ime Udoka. has pieces that they feel, okay, we bring him in, we're winning a championship. You could make the case, and that's why when Shump was eloquently putting it, I'm like, you know what, this makes a lot of sense, but is it realistic? And the patience versus the actual assets, and I think they're really going to be stocking their assets for potentially a bigger move, bigger players, someone that may fit their timeline. But listen, the Spurs have had a level of interest. Would I say that they are among the leaders right now in that moment right there, even though I was gathering my surroundings? Back of my mind, I'm like, no, I wouldn't.
Okay.
But Shump made some great points.
Okay, so Shump, and also it's been reported that KD would like to go there, which you just reiterated there. So it all makes a lot of sense for the Spurs, especially with Wemby there and everything that they have going on and potentially going on a run. And the NBA, we would assume, wanting them to go on a run. So Kevin Durant to the Spurs would make sense when people say it. I think we would all like it.
It would make sense, but Pat, like honestly, the Rockets and the Heat are more realistic as of right now.
So whenever you said
than the Spurs.
Whenever you said the timeline or the assets and everything like that, you're saying these other teams seemingly much more interested when it comes to what the offers are potentially going to be and when those offers are going to be made.
Yeah, like the players that it would take to get a deal done, the draft capital that it would take to get a deal done. Those, Houston, Miami, Minnesota, a little bit more motivated, and there's a couple other wild card teams just a little bit more motivated potentially. San Antonio's got a ton of flexibility. First of all, they've got Victor Wembanyama, potentially the future face of the NBA. You have De'Aaron Fox. You have the number 2 pick in the draft. You have the number 14 pick in the draft. They have their first-round picks moving forward. What that organization has done, now obviously Greg Popovich has moved into the president role. Mick Johnson, first-time head coach, full-time head coach, starting this next season. But what that front office, Brian Wright as general manager, Mick Johnson as coach, they want to have a similar run and be set up similarly to R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich. And in their minds, they have a ton of assets to where if there's a guy that becomes available that's on that timeline potentially, you go out and make that deal. That's not to say that they don't have interest in Kevin Durant. They do. And potentially they would make an offer. But I'm sure they have discussed different frameworks. But what the other teams are offering is just a little bit more aggressive.
Got it. Understandable. You said that deal could happen in the next few days. I believe you said that on Friday. We're on Tuesday now. I think that would still be the fringe of few days, but is it still very active, I think?
I mean, at this point in these conversations, it's really just you're looking at a piece away from deals getting done on multiple different sides. So from Miami's perspective, from Houston's perspective, Minnesota is the one wild card team that you think about. They made back-to-back Western Conference Finals, and I reported over the weekend Kevin Durant's 3 preferred spots: Miami, Houston, and San Antonio. No Minnesota on that list, so clearly there's not an interest for Kevin Durant to go there. But Minnesota wouldn't be the first team to trade for a player that doesn't want to be there. Obviously, the Raptors did it in 2018 with Kawhi Leonard. He didn't want to go there; he wanted to go back to LA, but he goes to Toronto, wins a championship that year. So it's not something that's revolutionary. So from my understanding, Minnesota is still studying it. They're not out of it. They're trying to figure out, is there a pathway where we can make this gamble, bring Kevin Durant in, still be able to build the roster up? Because they've got Naz Reid's free agency potentially. They've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker's free agency, Julius Randle's free agency that they've got to deal with. And now, Pat, in the NBA, you talk about the second apron. You talk about the first apron. You talk about the luxury tax, which your Pacers will have to deal with this offseason. These are all major components of team building, and so I think Minnesota is going to keep studying it. But honestly, every day that goes by, I think it's more likely that they're going to, if they're involved here, it's going to be, seeking out multi-team trade scenarios, 3-4 team deals, whether they get Kevin Durant or whether they're just involved in a deal that's facilitating that. But Minnesota is still very much engaged and active in these conversations.
Okay, you said Miami as well. D-Butch, obviously, lifelong Miami Heat fan.
Yes, sir. Obviously, the 2 pieces we have there now, Tyler Hero and Bam, I would assume that they are untouchable when it comes to making a big move for KD. What type of pieces would we move to acquire Kevin Durant?
Yeah, those 2 have not been in any conversations, DB. So you and the rest of, I guess, Heat Nation can breathe a sigh of relief. But I mean, they in terms of tradable salaries, you have players like Andrew Wiggins. You have a Terry Rozier to make. That's really just to make money match. But for the Heat's perspective, they do have some young players that have value, right? Khalil Ware, you have Nikola Jovic, you have Jaime Jaquez. So out of those 3 guys, which player are you comfortable putting in a deal for Kevin Durant?
Any of them.
What?
Outside of Bam, I love those guys. I love them all. But outside of Bam and Tyler, yeah, do what we got to do, Rouse.
UD was going to be pissed if Khalil Ware got traded. That's what
yeah, no, he was. I think UD was going to throw some hands if I told him Khalil Ware's in this deal.
I like
he
him
has our back, by the way.
KD
Shout out
down
UD, great teammate. But I think
he was. He was tampering a little bit.
He was not recruiting.
Yeah, he was definitely tampering a little bit.
He was just talking about the program and what they were providing. He made some great points. The Spo being there, but obviously the structure being there. But yeah, keep them coins coming in.
Yeah, we'll see. Kevin Durant signed up for no chocolate chip cookies at this stage?
I doubt it.
We're talking about Kevin Durant here, though. We're talking about a guy who's about to turn 37 in September. The season that he just came off of scoring the ball, how efficient he's playing. I mean, I think talk to teams, and I think as well, he's probably got 2 to 4 more years really at this level potentially, barring injuries, right? I mean, even though he's at that age, his game is aging gracefully. So if you're a Miami, especially we saw what Orlando did with Desmond Bane. If you have a chance in Miami to bring in Kevin Durant, you already have Tyler Hero, you have Bam Adebayo, you build that team out the right way, keep 1 or 2 of the young players like a Khalil Ware, and maybe you put another young player or 2 in like a Jovic or a Jaquez. Then you're really looking at a situation where, okay, we can compete in the Eastern Conference, and we can give ourselves a legitimate chance. Or is Miami waiting for another star player to become available? We'll see, but they are still somewhat of a factor in these conversations.
All right, well, we shall see if Rouse gets back in the dance if the Miami Heat are able to get the trade done. Sounds like there's some competition. Doesn't sound like the San Antonio Spurs are keeping up with Houston, Miami, or Minnesota.
Shams dropped a little nugget.
Yeah, Shams just dropped a little piece of information.
What'd he say?
Well, when he said, KD, if he's not available, maybe another big star, maybe another big name. Mm-hmm. But he didn't. He
said that also for the Spurs gearing up for a big move, but, maybe on their time.
Yeah, so who's he?
Who are these people? Is this the most crazy?
You got to be patient. You got to be patient. You saw De'Aaron Fox became available. They jumped at it. Who could that next player be?
You tell us.
Yeah. Grizzlies, Ja.
Oh,
we don't know yet.
Triple J.
Is it Ja?
That player's not available yet, Pat.
Yet. Celtics.
Sorry, we'll get back. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. Senior NBA insider at ESPN, Charania, you're the best.
Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA,